Anyways, so speaking of point guards that are doing great, Steph Curry, the man, the myth,
The baby face.
the baby-faced assassin. Dude, he is balling right now. Balling. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I have him as my so far. I mean, we're very early on. I think they've played 10 games. I mean, I would have him as the MVP of the league right now if we had a 10-game season.
Definitely. I mean, I hadn't really watched the Warriors like that, but I can already tell you what Steph did because I'm the prediction king. Steph, he's probably taking a lot of good threes, taking a lot of good shots, and his decision-making is probably immaculate or this early in the season. His shot choice is a lot better, and, you know, he's trying to get everybody involved more so than in the past. But, you know, like, it's different now because, like, he's supposed to be the leader, even though it's hard to take him serious as a leader because he has that baby face, and it's like it's like looking to a 3-year-old, you know, lead the team. But he's just in a different role now. Not necessarily different, but it's just more everybody looks to him now like he's the guy. I know he's been it for a few years, but I think it's just good to see that he's really comfortable with it now to the point where he's trying to get more consistent as being the guy.
Yeah, it's very strange that at the beginning of the season, I thought there was no way that either him or KD could win the MVP. I mean, KD's doing good. KD's become such an efficient player, too. Like, such an efficient player. And that was really prevalent in the finals last year. But that's kind of carried over into this season where he's shooting like 60, 65% from the field in some games, 70% of the field in some games. And I just thought that having both KD and Steph on the same team, like, they would take away points or take away votes from each other in MVP voting. But Steph has actually now, once again, pulled himself away from the Warriors as this standalone player that's just on a different level. And I mean, Clay's been playing really well too. Clay was he had what?
He
was
had
that?
52.
52 in 26 minutes.
That is unworldly.
I mean, I don't know how he does it, but Steph has been putting on these shows. It reminds me of the MVP season, the unanimous MVP season, where he was putting on shows every single night. And, like, every 3 games, Steph would do something. Like, you're like, have I ever seen that before?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, I remember around the first times when you started seeing him throwing it high off the glass, and you're like, is that going in?
Exactly. Like, Steph is just he has crazy talent because, like, he can shoot really well, and, like, everybody knows that's his bread and butter, but he's done a really good job in compensating for not being the strongest or the fastest guy.
Mm-hmm.
What he's done is he's kind of adjusted in a way that takes a really high IQ. It takes a lot of mental capacity and mental ability to be able to notice where your weaknesses are and then improve on those or play around those weaknesses so you don't get exploited. So everybody knows he's not the best defender, but he still is an active defender. He keeps his arms out. He moves, tries to shuffle his feet and stuff like that. And he just tries to be there. He knows he might not get the steals every time, but he's staying in the area. Even though his shot and his shooting ability is his strength, he still works on going to different areas and trying to shoot from different areas on the court. So he'll shoot from the corner threes. He can shoot from the wing threes. He can shoot straight on. He's trying to shoot more mid-range shots now. So it's just he's adjusting in a way that's really, I think, why he's the favorite right now is because his ability to adjust and his ability to exhibit his mental capacity and flex his his mental ability onto other teams.
I also think that's why the Warriors are off to such a hot start. like obviously the Warriors were going to be great and they're probably going to win the championship. But for some reason I didn't see them going 9-1 to start the season, or 10-1. I don't know what they are now, but I didn't see them going and starting the season only having one loss in the first 10 games. Because I mean, I know for them, at least in the past couple seasons, it's not been a slow start, but for them it's been a slow start. Like they'll get like 3 losses in the first 10 games. But I mean, I think it's because the team's been together longer now, and they have more consistency in the players that they have. Because KD's now been there for 2 years. Obviously, you have the guys that have been there for forever. You have sort of a solid backup sort of group now that's been there for a couple years. So I think that lineup is just clicking, and so they're able to just come into the season and just be what they were at the end of the season. Like that break never really happened.
Exactly.
But Steph is like he's going off right now.
Exactly.
And he's really separating himself from the pack.
Yeah, I think obviously that team is on autopilot. They've been on autopilot for a few years, but a lot of people will just denigrate Steve Kerr and what he's done. They'll just kind of be like, oh, it's easy to get all those superstars on one team together, and it's easy to just get all those personalities together because they got so much talent. They'll just win anyways. Steve Kerr hasn't done
That's
anything.
sort of the Luke Walton argument.
Exactly. That's my argument. While Luke Walton is kind of overrated as a coach, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I think, but going back to Steve Kerr, I think Steve Kerr is kind of like, what he's done is he has implemented the system. So with Mark Jackson organized the team. He brought in the players with that general manager. And
Mark Jackson kind of got a little raw deal there, too.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that was his team.
And can you imagine Mark Jackson every year calling the NBA Finals, watching the Golden State Warriors?
Oh, my God. I say that every time. Every time I'm watching the finals or a playoff game with my dad, I always say, man, I wonder how Mark Jackson feels right now. I say, I feel bad for him right now every time.
And remember, Steve Kerr was calling games on
TNT
before that. So it's basically like him and Mark Jackson. I don't think Mark Jackson calls for ABC and ESPN.
Yeah, he does.
But basically they switched places.
They did. Oh, my God. I feel so sorry for him because that was his team. He brought in most of the players, basically. But
Man,
Steve Kerr just brought in the system.
Shout out to Mark Jackson.
Yeah, I got to give Mark Jackson his credit,
He needs a job.
He does. Because you can't tell me that Mark Jackson wouldn't do better than, like, whoever the Nets coach is right now, or the
If we were able to get a studio, Mark Jackson should be able to get a job coaching in the NBA.
For real. Like, I'm living my dream right now just talking about this. Oh my God.
So for sure we're in agreement here though that you think Steph's going to so far the MVP of the season.
He's the front runner, and there's one or two others as well, but it's hard to say just right out the gate. But Steph definitely, he deserves to be up there.